In this module, we looked at teaching writing. Can you tell me why teach writing?
So, there are many reasons why we teach writing. After all, it is an integral part of the English language, and many students need writing skills for very practical reasons, such as externally assessed exams, university, work, but also for survival. So students sometimes find themselves in situations where they are required to fill in forms, write formal letters of complaint, and application forms and so on.
What knowledge and skills must students have to be able to write effectively? In other words, what is it that we teach?
Okay, right. So, do you remember what we said in the previous module about speaking? That it is not just oral production of grammar and vocabulary. Well, this is very similar with writing. Writing is more than just a written production of students' grammar, lexis and spelling. In order to be effective as a writer, students need to understand how the type of written text, the genre, informs the language and the organisation of the text. Students also need to practice the specific elements of cohesion, such as avoiding repetition, linking words, and referencing to go backwards and forwards in the text. This is never easy for students, even if they are good writers in L1.
Okay then, but how do we actually teach writing?
So, there is a range of ways and techniques available to help students develop their writing skills. In this module, we specifically focused on two different approaches, the product approach and the process approach. So just to remind you, the product approach has its focus on the final piece of writing students produce in the lesson, which is an imitation of an example shown to them before they start writing. In other words, students get to see a model of the final product before they put pen to paper. So, at the start of the lesson, the teacher introduces the topic and clarifies the type of writing students are going to practice. This is followed by a language input stage, whereby the teacher presents the students with useful language for the type of writing they are doing. Students then get restricted practice of this new language, and then they are ready to write. Before they write though, the teacher elicits the layout and the main ideas the students are to put in each paragraph. They put this on the board. The process approach, in contrast, has its focus on how students actually get to the final product. The stages involved in the process of writing are more important than the actual outcome. So, let us briefly remember the stages. After the topic is introduced, at the beginning of the lesson, the teacher encourages the students to collaboratively, and this could be in pairs or in small groups, brainstorm vocabulary and ideas that they can then use in their writing. Students then write the first rough draft, which is passed on to another group for feedback and peer correction. This is then followed by redrafting, editing, and then presenting the final outcome to the rest of the class.
Do we need to give feedback on writing? If so, how can we do it?
So whichever approach you choose to take, the teacher has to give feedback and corrections. This could be done as the students are writing. This is known as immediate corrections. Or it could be after they have finished writing, and this is called delayed correction. Remember, you also have to focus on examples of good language, not just errors. And remember to use a correction code. Don't just give students the corrections, elicit self-correction first.
And what do we assess students' writing on?
Right, so that's a very good question. When we give feedback on written work, we not only look at the language, such as the grammar and the lexis, but also at how ideas have been expressed, and how easy it is to follow these ideas. In other words, how cohesive the text is, and of course, has the task been fulfilled, and is the reader fully informed? Finally, teaching writing is also an opportunity to help students develop their speaking skills. Just make sure students brainstorm ideas together. Perhaps write the first draft in pairs or a small group. Encourage peer checking after each writing stage and so on. Students will support each other and draw on their peers' ideas to avoid a writing block. If you want them to write individually, they can still do it when they produce the final version of the text. The more collaboration in a writing skills lesson, the more effective the lesson will be, and much more enjoyable at that.